Okay, I make the time just about 4 o'clock, so I think we'll make a start. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to our second webinar. If any of you saw Adrian's one yesterday on online options, the video of that will be made available in due course, as will this one. But today we're going to be looking at small apps making a big difference. I'm just going to show you a couple of things we've done that can just help with user adoption and how people can use SharePoint. And just using the functionality that's in the box of SharePoint, but just adding to it, just enhancing it, and just making it a little bit easier for people to use. So very light on slides here, quite heavy on demos, and this is me. So I'm Chris McKinley. If you want to email me to ask me a question, if you want to ask a question during the presentation, just pop it in the chat window, and I'll try and answer it as we go along. If loads of you do it and inundate me with questions, then I'll try and email you individually. Give me a tweet as well if you enjoyed this presentation afterwards, and I'll follow you back if I don't already. So I'm going to be looking at 4 things in particular here, these small apps making a big difference. I'm going to be looking at our glossary, unread email, redirect web part, and our icon bar. And you'll see how unread email and icon bar work really nicely sort of together. So I think we're going to jump straight into the demo. There's no point hanging around with slides. So I'm just going to get the demo up. So here we are. This is a standard out-of-the-box SharePoint 2010 site. Nothing particularly spectacular. And I was going to start off just by showing the glossary web part that we've created. Now this is actually a web part that runs within the SharePoint sandbox, which means it also runs on SharePoint Online as well, so you don't have to have SharePoint on-premise for this to be running. So I'm just going to add it into the page. Just save and close to come out of that. And you can see I've already put in two definitions within this glossary. One saying what a 2020 webinar is, and then one saying what a glossary is. I'll wait for this to save. There we are. So really what it does, it's all just based on a SharePoint list, but it just enables you to move around the glossary of terms jump around. So you can see along the top here, only the letters that have got items in are highlighted for you to be able to navigate to. So I'm just going to add another glossary term. Call this one SharePoint. SharePoint is, of course, awesome. So I'll save that in. And there we are. We can see that the S is now highlighted. So we can see those 3 terms. Now the power of this really comes in when you've got a large list and you can sort of jump around when you've got lots of items to show. And I've got a demo of that set up on this subjects page. So I've got a geography site here. Lots of different terms in geography, not necessarily terms that you'd come across every day. So why not put them in a glossary? So you can see we've got lots and lots on the page there. And you think, well, we've been talking about volcanoes. Let's jump straight down to V, volcano, and then you can start to read what a volcano is. Now, because I've got administrative privileges, I can click on that, and I can update the definition if I wanted to. So if I wanted to change that slightly, and I could change the title, and it would reorder accordingly. So I'm just going to show you how that's powered in the back end by just going to our top level site, looking at all site content, and we see we've got this glossary. And it's just a SharePoint list that lets you put them in. The power of that is if you have a list of terms existing already, you can just open it as a data sheet and you can dump all those terms in one go. So really nice, easy, quick win for both sort of staff and students really. Now you may want to have multiple glossaries on one page, so I can show you how you can do that as well. So here I've just got a blank page, just a straight wiki page with no content in. I'm just going to go into edit page mode. I'm going to insert the web part again. Insert the glossary over there on the left-hand zone, and I'm going to insert it again on the right-hand zone. And you can see it's picked up, in both instances, it's picked up the definition of that default list that it gets created with. Now, of course, you don't want to have the same thing showing on each one. So what I've done is I've just created a new list and given it a slightly different name. So in this instance, I've just called it SharePoint EduTech Glossary 2. So I'm just going to change the name there, hit OK, and then we'll see that we've got two glossaries running simultaneously on the same page. So what you might want to do if you have a subject area and you're covering different topics, you might want to preload your glossaries up with the topics, and you could just show and hide the web parts as you go through the term. You could just turn one on for one term and then just sort of turn it off without having to rebuild the list or anything like that. You can just point the glossary web part at different things. And the other thing you can see here, this one's got a couple of computer terms I'm starting to fill out, and this one here, an MVP, it's got the MVP badge. So I can just show you that when you're in, you've got the full sort of rich text editing. You can insert pictures and tables, and you can change the formatting, and that all comes through as well. You can see I've got that in bold, and that bold text comes through there. So that's just the glossary, just sort of seeing how you can have multiple glossaries on one page. Just a nice quick win, something that out of the box isn't a list of terms would be quite difficult to navigate, but with this, being able to just sort of jump around like we did on the geography site, jumping down to Volcano, it's just a sort of nice little addition into SharePoint. So the other web part I'm going to show you, I'm just going to remove this web part just so it doesn't clutter the page up, is the icon bar. And I just had that minimized. So here we are. So this icon bar is just giving us quick launch icons to go off to various different areas, either in SharePoint or externally. So the Bing search icon, that's going to take us straight to Bing. We've got library, click on that. It opens up our library site that just happens to be in SharePoint as well. But the power of this can be combined with the unread email. So you can see here that within the icon bar, I've got the unread email icon, and it's showing me that I've got 5 unread emails. And that goes off and it looks at the Exchange, and it tells you how many unread emails have you got. So you get that little call to action when you first visit the site. You arrive at the site, it says, these are how many unread emails you've got, and it gives you a little prompt to click on something. So if you have a problem with people aren't necessarily checking their emails, or they're missing emails because they have to go through another process of logging in somewhere else or what have you to see emails. With this, they can just see that they've got a couple of unread emails, and they can click on it, and it'll open up their email window, and they can just go straight through and check their emails. And then when they've read them, they'll come back, and that number would have then changed or disappeared if they've read all the emails. So that's the unread email that just sits really nicely within this icon bar. So I'm going to continue to talk about the icon bar here. So the power with this is all driven from one list at the top level site. So if I put this icon bar on, say, the staff page, staff will also see these icons. And the real power of it is that I can actually say, well, actually on this site, I only want to show particular icons. So if I click through to the staff site, it's the same icon bar, but we've got a phone book. And what that is, it's just a SharePoint list of staff directory. But it's all powered from that same list. But if I'm on the top level site, I don't see phone book. So we'll have a little look at that. So here's the icon bar. And we can see we've got a couple. Where we're saying with this phone book, this is where you need to link to. And these are the sites that I only want to show it on. So I only show it when I'm on that /staff site. So you can hone the icons to only appear in particular areas. So we're going to add some more in. I'm going to add the Bing images one. I'm just going to edit that. Now you can set that to be -1 to hide it altogether. So if you had a link that you only want to show at certain times of year, you could just leave it in the list and then just hide it using -1. But in this case, we're going to show it. So I'm going to say 11 just so it appears to the right. And the same with this. Let's give that 12 so it appears to the right. So again, we can see we've got Bing Maps that are going to show everywhere, but this Bing Images link is only going to show on the staff site or any _layout site. So let's just see if that's worked. Here we are, Bing Maps appearing there, no Bing Images. Go to the staff site, and there we are. We see Bing Images and Bing Maps. So we have the link to both of them there. So we could go through and add that on every page, but if we look on the students page, we haven't got the icon bar. Now what would be really powerful is if we had the icon bar on that page, so students could jump straight to their email, or they could jump to a link straight to the library. And the same with subjects. You might have a particular icon that you want to appear in a particular subject area. Now you could go through and add the web part into every single page, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it in as part of the master page. So I'm just going to change the master page. And what I've done is I've just created another master page which has the icon bar in it, which we'll see as soon as I've clicked OK, because it'll appear there. So if I jump back to SharePoint Exec, there we are. We see it twice on the page, because this top one here is actually within the master page. What it does mean then is if I click on students, the icon bar is already there. If I click on geography, remember it wasn't there with the glossary, but it's there now. And you may have noticed in that list I had an icon to say only show on the science page. And that's what I've done. So we see this videos link here, so that could go off to an internal media library or YouTube or whatever. But that only appears on that particular subject library. So you can control all these icons all from that one place and say, right, actually only show it on these particular student pages or subject pages or something like that. I'm just going to add another one completely just so you can see the process from start to end. We're going to have a link to the calendar. I'm just going to attach an image. And it's going to go to our calendar within SharePoint. And you can say whether it opens in a new window or a current window. And you can say where you want it to appear. So I'm going to leave that as, actually I'm going to change that to 50 so it always appears on the far right. Okay, and there we are, we've got calendar showing, we can see that straight away. And then you can see that it just links through to our calendar. So rather than having to, if you're on this subject's geography site, for example, rather than having to go back to the top level site, navigate back to find the calendar, you can click on calendar within there and you're straight back to where you want to be. So one thing people often find is you think, well, I'm a parent or I'm a staff member, what's the point of this top level site here? When I land here, all I end up doing is clicking on students. I want to see the student information, I'm a student, show me that, show me the student announcements, show me the shared documents that are pertinent to students. So you might want some kind of redirect thing, and that's what I'm going to show you now. It's the redirect web part, if you can say it. So our top level site, I've got it on this page here. So I'm just going to go into edit mode. Put the page into edit mode, and then we can see that we can add some rules in here. So I can set it to a particular OU within Active Directory. I can set it to a Active Directory group, or I can set it to actual SharePoint group. So if you're a member of a particular SharePoint group, then do something. And what happens is it goes through and it goes through the different rules. As soon as it matches a rule, it will redirect you to that page. If it doesn't match any rule, it hits this last one, and you could also say, well, if no rules match anyone, I still want them to end up on a particular page. But in this example, I'm just going to do an AD group for the students page, and the redirect location is going to be our students page. So AD group is called students, and that's the location they're going to end up going to. So I'm just going to hit update. Tells me it's updated successfully. Just going to close the page. Now, because I'm logged in as an administrator, I can see all these locations that that people are going to go to as well. So I can see where that actually ends up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in as a student, and you're going to see me land on this page, but automatically end up on that students page. So I'm switching user from that top level site. Hit OK, and here I am on the students page. If I click back on here, I'm back on the students page. So I can't get to it. Now I can click on calendar, that still works. That still takes me to the calendar which sits at the top level. So you're not stopping people access the site, but you're saying on that page with the redirect web part, I don't want people to stay on that page. I want them to go to the relevant location, in this case, students. So I'll click on the students page, and there I am, straight away on the students page. So I can then be redirected, and that can be a SharePoint group as well, like I said, or an OU, or AD groups. And it will go through and just take the people to wherever you want. So really, really powerful. And just helps people sort of navigate around SharePoint. So as a student, I can log in, I can go to one URL that you can give to all members of the organization. The redirect part then takes them to the relevant location. So as a student, I've ended up here. Straight away, I've got some really quick links. So I can go straight to my email, I can go straight to the library. I don't have to look down within the other navigations. I don't have to clutter up other navigations with links to items. I can see them all there straight away in this top link. And then as I browse through, I can go to the different subject areas, and I can see that there's a glossary of terms. If I'm studying volcanoes, I can see all that, and I can click through and read the terms. So they're just a quick overview of those 4 web parts. That's the unread email one, the icon bar, the glossary, and the redirect. So I'm going to draw it a close there, and there's a questions come in the chat window. So I'm just going to sort of expand that, and I'll answer those now. So yeah, Sam's asked a question here about what happens if you're in multiple for the redirect. If you satisfy multiple rules, where do you end up? It's a good question, Sam. And what it does is it goes on the first one it comes across. So the first rule you match, it goes off and does that. So you just need to bear that in mind as you're going through and adding your different rules to put that in. The first match is the match that takes you off to that location. And I'll just show you that just to be completely clear. Just log in as. So you can see I can now get to that page. And that's why you've got this order, so you can actually change the order. So if I added another rule here and I thought actually they evaluate in the wrong order, I can just change these numbers to put them back again. Another quick question here. How many icons can you have on the icon bar? As many as you want. Once you fill up the space, they'll squidge down to fit the available space, and then they'll go on to sort of multiple lines. But probably best practice would be to try and limit the number of icons you have along the top. There isn't really a technical limit to how many you can have, but I'd say there's a best practice limit of probably about 5 or 6 really. Maybe 7. The whole point of the icon bar really is to help with navigation and to sort of stop the navigation being cluttered up. So try and limit the amount of icons you have just to those really important things. And if you've got a new icon you want to add and you think, well, which is the more important icon we want to add in, which can we add in temporarily, that sort of thing. So it's more of a best practice limit than an actual limit. Another one from Sam. How about nested groups and OU? If you're looking to redirect users in OUs of OUs, or indeed groups of groups. Okay, so what it does is it looks at what groups you're a member of. So if you're in a nested OU, so say you have, for example, an OU containing students and then an OU below that containing, say, year 7, and then OU for year 8, OU for year 9, that kind of thing. You can actually say, you could either do individual the OU, so you can say those particular year groups, so always take year 13 and redirect them somewhere, or you could say do it to all students. I think that answers the first bit of that question. And then people sort of, if they're the nested groups, if you're a member of that group, it will just sort of return to you, these are the groups you're a member of. I think does that make sense? Cool. Thanks, Sam. So that's all the questions in the chat window. If anyone else has got anything they want to ask, that takes us to 20 past, which is our allocated 20 minutes, but I'm happy to stay on the line if people want to chat a bit more. But thank you very much for your time. I'll just go back to my slide deck. Make sure I haven't missed anything. No, I haven't. There we are. That's me. I'm Chris McKinley. Thank you very much for attending this 2020 webinar.